Things from my shed. I'm back again with a shorter look at David Gold's interview. It's been 10, 12 days now since he done it, but I've been a bit of a busy man working, so I haven't had really time to sit down and go through what he said about the financial. There's a few things that I want to pick up on, following on for what I looked at with the Olympic Stadium, where I'd like to thank everyone that watched it. Thousands more people watched it than I ever thought would, and I'd like to thank everyone for their comments, good and bad. You know, at the end of the day, when you do things like this, you got to take the rough and the smooth. So I don't object or get the ump when people want to say things about me or what I say. It's just a par for the course in a way when you do these types of things. So if you watch this and you agree, or if you disagree, feel free to comment below the video or wherever you see it. Big thanks to Gonzo from Amma's Chat for putting it on his channel and giving me the encouragement to do something like this. So I want to take a look at what DG said to the West Ham Way boys on the podcast about 2 weeks ago in regards to the finances. So he starts off by saying when he bought the club, they had loans from the bank that were charged at 10% interest. They've come in and they took those loans and they converted them to personal or shareholder loans, where they were only charging 6% interest. So that, which I suppose you can't argue, does the club a favour. So that's 4% of interest that they're not paying on loans. Now, where perhaps DG goes off a bit for me is he then starts to say that he alludes to the fact that he loses money by investing in West Ham. Now, this is what I'm going to take a look at now. The DG says that him and David Sullivan haven't taken a penny in wages and dividends, and basically that they've took nothing. When they bought the club, West Ham had loans that paid 10%, and they've converted them to loans charging 6% instead of 10%, and the fact they've saved the club money. DG then talks personally where he says that his money was taken from investments that earned him a 10%, and that by changing them down, he's only getting a 6% return, and that he's losing money. The question was put to him, why did you not loan the money you loaned the club 1% and instead of 6%? And he said, but he'll be losing money. Now, I don't know how much David Gold's invested. I think between the pair of them, it was at 1.52 million. So I think it's dropped down a bit. There has been loan repayments made in 2016. So what I'm going to use, the easiest way for me to do it is to say that if DG had loaned the club 20 million, 10% that he'd been getting in his previous investment would pay him £2 million a year. Now, he takes that and 20 million out of that investment, loans it to West Ham. Now, instead of getting 2 million a year, he's earning 1.4 million a year. But this is the thing, DG alludes to the fact that by investing in West Ham, he's lost money. Now, I would argue the case that he hasn't lost money. When his net worth is worked out, it's worked out at a global figure of all his investments, all his shares, all his cash, all his property, and that's his net worth. His net worth is around £400 million, which includes that 20 million loan to West Ham. Now, by taking it out of that investment and putting it in West Ham, he still owns that £20 million loan. It's still shown in his net worth. The only difference is, instead of getting the £2 million, he's only getting 1.4 million in interest repayment. So he's not losing money, he's just not earning as much money. It's a clever way of wording it. It's obviously there to make people more sympathetic to his line of not taking any money from the club, not earning anything, not being in it for the money. And I'm not accusing him of being in it for the money, but what I'm basically trying to say is you're not losing money. David Gold claimed throughout that interview he lost money by investing in West Ham, but he hasn't lost money. There is a difference between losing money and not earning more money, because he's still got the £20 million showing in his net worth. EG hasn't lost money investing in West Ham. He's just not earned as much as he would have done elsewhere. So you can't lose money, in my opinion, that you've never had. So as soon as he took it out, now what you got to remember as well, he's invested in something that earns in 10%. When he's invested that money, that would have investments can go up as well as down. There's no guarantee. There was no guarantee that he would always get 10% for that money. So again, to keep alluding that he lost money by investing in West Ham, it's being clever, in my opinion, with words, as I said in before. He also goes on about the fact that the loan's now only 4%, not 6%, which is true, but the 6% didn't drop to 4% until 2017. So technically, that's not shown in the club's current books. If you look at West Ham's accounts released just after he gave the interview, it shows that the loan was paid at 6% and that only just dropped to 4%. So basically, between the two of them, Sullivan and Gold have loaned West Ham £52.2 million to the club between 2011 and 2014. They were paid back, and again, this goes to show it's all in the accounts. So they say they haven't taken a penny. Now, it's in the accounts. They were paid back 4.2 million of the original 52 million in August 2016. So they took a couple of £1 million each. No big shakes. It's you know, it's not a big dent, but when you say to people you haven't taken money and then it's shown that you have taken money, people are going to start naturally thinking, well, are you being right there? Are you correct? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He is 81 or 82 years old. So for that 52.2 million, not only did they get back 4.2 million, but they also paid themselves 2.2 million of interest in 2016, which left them with like 48 million outstanding. So the 48 million debt is still there. Now what they've done is, which Gold never openly admitted to in the interview either, is that they've paid themselves back £10 million in August 2017. So that was an interest payment, but not on a loan. So the original loan is actually still there. So between the pair of them, since they've owned the club, they have loaned the club £52 million, but they've took 12.2 million in interest payments and 4.2 in loan repayments. So they've took out of the club over 16 million pound. But if we go back to what he said they took nothing in wages and dividends. I'll leave that up to people to decide in the way they want to interpret that. He said in the interview he don't like being called a liar and he will refute it. Well, the evidence is in the accounts into what he pays and what he doesn't pay. There's another thing in the accounts that in a way I'm surprised not being picked up on, which I found a bit strange. It was easy to just do a little bit of digging to see. So basically there was loan repayments made to, I think, CB Holdings, which was the last lot of Icelandic loan, and another company was paid back, GC Co 102 Limited. So they had all their money paid back on the 15th of July 2016, the £14.7 million worth of loan money. So it doesn't differentiate what it was, but basically looking back in previous, we can see David Sullivan made a bank loan to West Ham via GC Co 102, because David Sullivan is one of the directors of that company. So basically 6.7 million. And over the course of the deal, the loan was repaid back and it earned him another £1 million in interest over the course of, from 2013 to over the course of the 3 years, 2013 to 2016. So basically that loan was repaid on the 15th of July 2016. It's in the accounts. The only anomaly is that GC Co 102 Limited was liquidated in June of 2016. So, you know, I'm not a financial whiz kid. You know, perhaps it's just an accounting thing. Perhaps it was paid before then, but they put it in the accounts. But for whatever reason, according to West Ham accounts, they paid back a loan to a company a month after it had been dissolved. Now, I'm not a businessman, so I don't know how that works, but it seems a bit strange to me. Recap. Basically, there's still 45 million, over 45 million of shareholder loans yet to pay back that possibly will need to be paid back by 2020, but whether Gold and Sullivan can defer that, that's up to them. But in interest repayments so far, there's been £13 million paid back purely in interest payments alone, split across David Gold and David Sullivan. But you know, as David said, they've not took share dividends, and they've not took wages out of the club. So that's all well and good. There is one other thing we can throw into it that come up in accounts is that Trip Smith, Albert Smith, whatever he wants to go by, bought the last lot of shares owned by the Icelandic bank. And in doing so, he paid whatever he paid for them. We don't know what he paid for them because they'd be in his accounts, and the money would have been paid to the Icelandics, so that would show in their accounts. Well, I don't know to look for them or whether we'd ever see them, so we don't actually know what exactly he paid. But what we do know is he did make the club a £9 million loan, and the funny thing about it was he made that £9 million loan interest free, and the repayment terms were also a bit different in that it doesn't get repaid until the club changes ownership. So until the club is sold, that £9 million was given and he gets nothing back for it. But, you know, for commercial interest only, David Gold said that he had to charge interest on the loans that he loaned West Ham, and the same with David Sullivan. So what's good for the goose is not good for the gander, I don't know. But I mean, that's fair play to Trip Smith for doing that. You know, that's a good thing. At the end of it, I'm going to finish up in what DG, for me, I found strange. He claimed that by owning West Ham, he's losing money. He actually said that him and DS were worse off for buying West Ham and investing in it. And this I find very strange to say. Karen Brady on her own website valued West Ham at £800 million. So when you think that David Gold owns, I believe 35%, around that mark, not 100% sure, 35% of West Ham United. If you look back when they bought the club, he probably paid about £35 million for his 35% of what he owns. Now that 35 million, if we take Karen Brady's figure, which to be fair does seem overinflated, I can't see 800 million, but let's take it as 800 million because that is a quotable figure that we've got evidence. So if we take that 800 million figure and look to see what David Gold's 35% is worth, that's now worth £280 million. So for David Gold to stand there or sit there in this interview and say that he is worse off for investing in West Ham United when he's took £35 million worth of money that he's put into a club, and book price, if we're using Karen Brady's own valuation, is 280 million. Well, you know, I wouldn't mind that being worse off, I tell you. So has David Gold told lies? Well, unlike in my first video, I'm not here to turn around. I won't use the word disingenuous because apparently I went overboard on that. And that's what happens when you learn new words, when you're uneducated like myself. So I'll leave that up to people to decide. They can watch my video. I've put images up to show you where what I'm saying is coming, where it comes from, and then you can make you decide for yourselves whether, you know, have I been wrong in what I've said. Feel free to comment below. I'm always open to being proved wrong in the way I say it, and I actually look forward to it. If people can prove me wrong, I always say, show me, and I'll openly admit, look, I'll come up and say, look, I got that wrong and I'm sorry. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Amos Chat Forum, and I'll maybe see you again another time.